to listen to me. This is Pastor Andy coming to you with something that we are affectionately calling nightly nonsense. Now, before you get offended by that, before you turn off this lovely little channel, keep in mind that what nonsense means is it gives me the platitude, the freedom to be able to do a whole bunch of different things. So we are excited tonight to be doing just that. We're hoping that on these evenings that we're going to be able to bring to you just a plethora of different things, including some interviews, including some different teachers. We're just excited to be doing a 8 o'clock at night live event with Drash Ministries and then all of our affiliated ministries, including Lakeview Community Church, Grace First Fellowship, the epicenter, far beyond the temple curtain, and I'm sure I'm missing a few. So listen, what we need is if you have some ideas, some thoughts, probably some concerns, you can send those to us. Listen, we prayed about this whole title, Nightly Nonsense. We're excited to just be able to do a bunch of different things and hopefully just give you a little bit of encouragement and just lighten the load before you go to bed, before you get ready to start the next day. So as soon as Timothy gives me the okay, then we will begin tonight's Nightly Nonsense. Hey, welcome to Nightly Nonsense. If you just missed my last 2 minutes, let me explain to you that Nightly Nonsense isn't something that we take lightly. It is a name that just kind of popped in around our heads this evening as we were talking in my dining room here in DeWittville, New York. And it stuck because, first, it's unique, but second, it gives us the ability to do a whole bunch of different things. And that's what we want this nightly thing to be. There are a lot of people giving encouragement once, twice, 3 times a day. There are a lot of people doing Bible studies. We're going to continue to do that on Thursday night with Lakeview Community Church. But we wanted the freedom to be able to do some different things. We're excited to be able to bring you some worship. We're excited to be able to bring you some worship leaders. We're excited to hopefully be able to do some interviews in the next few nights and introduce you to people, let people tell their stories. We're excited to be able to just tell stories, and we're excited to be able to open up the Word of God and just give you some encouragement. You know, I think often we sit around, if we're not careful, we think that Jesus was serious all the time. 33 years of 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, being really, really serious. Yet we know that that's probably not true. That Jesus probably took some time to joke around and to laugh with his friends and his family. That he took some time to enjoy things. We know that he was at a wedding ceremony for his first miracle. We know that he cared deeply about people. So it's likely that he spent time listening to their stories, listening to who they were, listening to what they were about. And so we want to be able to take, on a nightly basis, some moments of being a little less serious, and maybe some moments of even being a little more serious. But we want to open up tonight with a worship song. I introduced over the weekend Stephen and Melinda and their family who have put together some worship songs for Drash Ministries. We're excited to be able to bring one of those to you right now. So without any further ado, hope that you enjoyed this song sung by Stephen. His wife Melinda plays the piano with him. And if you get a moment, just let yourself go and worship with this very familiar worship song.
What love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called His sons, and daughters, precious in his sight. Greater love this world had never seen. When he hung on that tree, oh why would he do such a thing for dirty sinners like you and me? Oh God, thank you for loving me. When on the cross you made history, Lord, you died for me forever. My praise will go to thee, oh God. Thank you for choosing me to be a child and bear your name. Oh Jesus, I will never cease to sing your praise. Your love is patient and humble and kind. It's greater than all my sins. It always protects and trusts and hopes and will have no end. It's your love that lifted me up from the depths, set my feet on a solid rock, with a firm place to stand. Lord, I always will trust in your loving hand. Oh God, thank you for loving me. When on the cross you made history, Lord, you died for me forever. My praise will go to thee, oh God. Thank you for choosing me to be a child and bear your name. Oh Jesus, I will never cease to sing your praise. How wide, how long, how high, how deep, how endless is your love for me. How wide, how long, how high, how deep, how endless is your love for me. How wide, how long, how high, how deep, how endless is your love for me. Oh God, thank you for loving me. When on the cross you made history, Lord, you died for me forever. My praise will go to thee, oh God.
Hey, it's good to team up with people, and I have been privileged over the years to team up with lots of different people in the different ministries that I've gotten a chance to be involved in. We're really excited to team up with Stephen and with Melinda, and there is nothing nonsensical about thanking God for loving us. We're coming off of Easter. I hope that you had a great Easter. I hope that you were able to focus in on Jesus this Easter, but also embrace the newness of celebrating Easter in a way that you probably haven't for a while. You know, one of the things that I missed about Easter was the fact that most of you who are listening are going to know that I go every Sunday almost to my mom's house, and we have Sunday dinner. And somehow my mom is able to make Easter and Christmas and things like that special, even though we routinely get together. And I get together with my brother and my sister and families, my other sister who lives in Chicago when she's home. And you know, it's a good time. And it's extended family as well that meets around a table, and we get to share life with each other. But you know, outside of that, I've been able to spend some time with my brother and sisters on vacation. And several times we've gone on vacation with my sister Heather and her family. This last summer, we took my entire sibling base, and we got to go to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and spend some time together, and it was good. But you know, I think of Jesus, and I often think of him sitting around and the stories that would be told to him, but the stories that would be told around him as well. And just listening. And I imagine that when Jesus ascended and was up in heaven, the recount of those stories that he must have heard, that God heard. And I wonder if Jesus ever said, you know, that's not exactly how I remember it. It's not exactly what I was thinking. That's not exactly how I think it went about. And you know, as time goes on, we look back at stories with a fondness, but the details, they get a little murky. And so we tend to elaborate on things. And because I like to tell stories and I love to do object lessons, frequently my stories get elaborated anyway, especially if it has to do with Bill Ballesteri or my siblings. So I want to tell you a story tonight, if you'll just bear with me. Most of you, some of you even, have probably heard this story, and so you're going to check it with how I'm going to tell it this time, and I'm trying to tell you already that my memory isn't good, and so it's probably going to sound a little bit different. But here it goes. A few years ago, when my son was younger, my sister came up with the brain trust idea of taking him on vacation with her every single summer, wanting to do something special. And they started out going to Allegheny State Park for a couple summers, and then it progressed, and then she decided that they were going to go to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And so they went, rented a cabin, and my wife and I, well, we joined them halfway through the week, allowing Timothy some much needed time away from his parents before we came down there, and he would have a different perspective of us. And so we got to see a bunch of things while we were down there, and we were overwhelmed by the idea that you're in the mountains, and you would drive in a mile or 2 miles this way or that way, and you're really, truly in the middle of the mountains, in the middle of nowhere. But when you get to Gatlinburg, it's this really tightly dense area that is very commercialized, and it was surprising to me because I assumed that Gatlinburg was probably going to be more about, you know, the Old West and the 1800s and all of that kind of stuff. But there were lots of commercialized things to do, especially in that area, at Pigeon Forest, go-karts. We spent quite a bit of time getting to go-kart. But on one evening, we left the kids with some responsible young adults, and we decided that my wife and I and my brother-in-law and my sister, that we would take off for a night on the town. Now, those of you who know me know that that's probably going to be a lot less fun than you're thinking about, or that your night's out on the town. But we went downtown Gatlinburg to walk the streets. We found a parking place, and we started walking. And there were tons of things to grab your attention. Again, those of you who know me know that I'm not a big amusement park rider. But I go there, and I like to eat food. I love to go and try out the different foods while everybody else is getting sick and dizzy. I'm just getting fat. So it was no different on our trip to Gatlinburg. We were looking at all the different food places and all the different things that we could get, trinkets and all of those kind of things. And so we came upon this one place that was where you could pan for gems. You could pay some money, they would give you a bucket of dirt with some gems put inside it, and you would go and you would pan it, and then you take out the gems, you bring them to a guy, and he would tell you what wonderful treasures you got. So we started to walk by it, and then I came up with the brain trust idea of wanting to go ahead and wanting to do that. And much to the reluctance of the other three, we ended up doing that. And I think because we were laughing a little bit, and we were kind of not taking it very seriously, when we got in there, we got our bucket of dirt thanks to a woman that we had pick it out, because we looked at her gems that she had gotten, and she had gotten actually some pretty nice things. And so we had her child pick out our dirt for us. But the gentleman was smart enough that he took us and he put us way in the back of this cave-like building. Like, we were at the very end. The water rushes through and goes away, and we were right there, right at the end. And by the time we were done, it was probably a really good idea. And so we got out our dirt and we started to put it into the pans and we started to wash it out. An amazing thing happened. That which was silly, that which we didn't find much value in, all of a sudden became a little bit more serious. And if you know my sister Heather and my wife Ruth, you know that they are just a tad bit competitive in nature. And so trying to find the best gems, trying to find all the things that we thought were gems, became really important. And so we were pulling out all these beautiful red things and yellow things and orange things, and we were putting them in our pan. And then we started getting into some rocks that didn't look like they were much of anything, or rocks that looked like this, that were pretty, and they were nice, but they didn't look like they had much value. And then that progressed to rocks like this that seemed to have even less value. And again, it looked more like a arrowhead than it looked like anything else. But at one particular moment, we were passing rocks along and deciding what we should keep and what we shouldn't keep. And this rock right here came up. And we were looking at it, and it didn't look like it was very special at all. And we actually almost tossed it aside, but we decided to throw it in our little pan anyway. And so we got all done, and we were making so much noise and having so much fun that by the time we were done, there was a little crowd gathered around us. And I think that we probably did some good for this business, because I'm sure that people outside were hearing us, and we were quite the spectacle. Sometimes when you are having a little bit of nonsense, you become a spectacle. Sometimes people are drawn to spectacles, and sometimes God decides He's going to do something unique with that spectacle. You see, sometimes the things that you and I call nonsense, God says make sense. So you and I have to be careful, because if we're not, we decide that we're going to throw things away that God has brought into our life on purpose. The people that don't seem to make any sense why they're in our life, we can't figure out what we're going to do with them, why we need them, and as a matter of fact, most of the time, all they do is cause us stress. Pretty sure that my siblings have found that out about me once or twice. Right? That sometimes you look at people and you look at situations, work opportunities. How about this pandemic we're going through? And we look at it and we say, this is just nonsense, God. And God says, wait until I make sense out of it. So anyway, we got our whole pan of rocks and we brought them up to this wonderful gentleman who, by the time we were ready to come up to him, was probably thinking it was a great time for us to be leaving. He probably wasn't so sad to see us going. But you know what? We spent money on a bunch of dirt and rocks, and we had a blast just doing something that seemed a lot like nonsense. And so we brought him up to him, and he started going through them, and sure enough, all of the pretty things that you and I would be attracted to, all of those things, he pulled out and said, this is nothing, this is nothing, this is nothing, this is nothing. And you could just, you could feel kind of some of the disappointment, the discouragement, because all the competitiveness was about, wow, you know, which pretty things matter? And all of a sudden, the pretty things, well, they weren't worth as much. It's not that they didn't have value. We took all of those pretty things, put them in a bag, took them home, gave them to our kids, and guess what? They loved them. They loved the pretty things because to them the value was in who was giving it to them and what they could do with it, not whether or not it was actually really valuable or not. But they could take them and they could look at the color and look at the size and everything, and they could do something with that. And we were left with all the rocks that I showed you, a bunch of different ones. And he looked at this one and he said, you know, this is topaz. Well, we were smart enough to know that there's some value in topaz. And then we got to the one that I said looked more like an arrowhead than anything else. And he said, this is a ruby. And we were all of a sudden elated with the fact that all of a sudden we've got things that have value. All of a sudden, that which we thought was worthless had value. The things we thought had value, those are worthless. One of the things that we pulled out, he told us, was a sapphire. And I was smart enough to send that in, and they made a sapphire necklace for my wife out of it that she wears. Gets to say that she has a sapphire. But this sapphire came from an experience. It wasn't something I just went and bought for her. So as he was going through all of these, and he split them up, and he came to this one. He came to this one that we'd almost thrown away because we really didn't look like it was anything. Matter of fact, it looks like things we see all the time around here. And he looked at it closely, and then he said, well, this rarely ever happens. Now, I don't know whether or not the guy was giving us a hard time or you know, just trying to make us feel good. I don't know what he was doing. But he looked at it again and he said, yeah, this is rare. And so we immediately said, well, what is it? And he said, this is a diamond. And so we looked at him and kind of, you know, like, oh yeah, you're kidding us type of thing. He's like, no, this is a diamond. And he got out this little glass thing and he started looking at it and he said, yeah, this could be made into a diamond. Now, I want you to think with us at how our evening changed. It changed from a nonsensical moment to a moment of just having fun with family. To a moment of, wow, did that just really happen? That we're walking out of here with a diamond. And I want you to think about all the things in life that you and I declare to be nonsensical. I want you to think about all the things that you're drawn to. Are they shiny? Are they bright? Do they grasp your attention? The people that grasp your attention. Situations that grasp your attention. The things, the toys that grasp your attention. And God says, listen, if you're really wanting me, if you really want more of me, you've got to do a little bit of work. You've got to do a little bit of work to get the diamond that's inside. You've got to be willing to chisel it. But not just anybody, because if you put a chisel to this, you're going to ruin the diamond unless you know how to cut diamonds. Unless you know what you're doing. And here's the truth of the matter. God knows what he's doing. And you and I, we just simply don't. Well, we think we know what we're doing. We think we know what's best. But God knows what's best. You see, the four of us would have just simply thrown it away. Some guy who knew informed us that it had value. And God wants to inform you and I that we have value. He wants to inform you that those people that you're quick to throw away, they might have the most value for the purpose and the plan that God has for you. Those situations that you want to throw away, they have the most value. This morning I walked out to my barn to find that my oldest 30-plus-year-old horse had passed away in the night. That immediately set me into a panic because I don't know what it was doing at your house, but it was rainy here, super rainy here, and very windy. And I needed to take care of my animal. And so I spent the next hour and a half, 2 hours, getting him out of his stall, getting him out to the place of burial. And fortunately, a good friend of mine who owns an excavating company was happening to be in his office at 7:30 in the morning, just walking in ready to go. And when he heard the plea in my voice, he came right up and helped me out. No, I'm not telling you this for compassion and for sympathy and for all of those kind of things. I'm telling you this because that's a moment that I would rather not have. That's a moment that I'd rather avoid. But God says, watch, I'm going to give you this moment, and then watch as I chisel this out. And you get to see how valuable you are to somebody else. That they're willing in the wind and the rain to come up and to help you out. So that you can honor an animal. You can do that which you think is best. Sometimes God gives us situations and then he says, watch, I'm going to chisel this. I think about that with handicapped children. I think about that with sicknesses. I think about that with financial problems. I think about that during this crisis. I think about that frequently. Are we looking at situations? Are we looking at situations and we just want to throw it away? And God says, hey, let me chisel that out for you. And then our response to God is, hey, God, thank you for loving me. Thank you, because I would have thrown away this moment. You see, standing out in the wind and the rain, that matched my attitude, that matched my feelings and my emotions. Standing out in the wind and the rain, my friend helped bring the peace of God to that situation. Somehow, with everything swirling around, we were able to do that which was right, that which was good. God chiseled out the moment, and he showed me how much somebody cares about me. They could have pushed me off to a better day. Could have said, too busy today. Could have said, oh, my equipment's put away. Could have said a million things. But instead, you know what he said? I'll be right up. And he came up way sooner than I thought he was coming. And his first question was, are you okay? How can I help? What can we do? And then he just took care of me. Didn't take away all the feelings, didn't take away all the emotions. It just brought peace in a moment. So here's my challenge to you tonight. A nightly nonsense. Sometimes God is going to take the nonsense in your life. I want you to think about the craziest things. I want you to think about all the experiences, all the things you'd rather throw away, all the things that you would rather do without. Sometimes he's going to take that nonsense He's going to turn it into sense. So be careful what you want to throw away. Be careful what you want to discard. Be careful when you want to walk past a panning for gems place. That God has an object lesson for you. God has something that he wants to teach you. Be careful how quickly you want this pandemic to just go away without allowing God to chisel in your life. Can I pray for you tonight? And then we're done. We'll see you again tomorrow night. Hopefully, I'll have some company with me of some sort. And we just want to continue to bring you some nonsense that might make some sense. Let's pray. Jesus, we thank you. Thank you for who you are. You are the great physician, but you're also the great chiseler. You take situations, take the ugliness, and you make diamonds out of it. You take that which we want to discard, those that we want to discard, and you do amazing things with them. Lord, you've done that in my life. You're still working. You'll do that in other people's life. Allow us the opportunity to allow you to do that in our lives. Lord, I pray a blessing upon each one who took the minutes out of their evening to listen to this, their day to listen to this. Pray that it would be a blessing to them. I pray that you would keep them, that you would provide for them. Lord, that you would show them, as you did for me today, how much you love them, but also that others love them. In your name, amen. Good night from the Fred Farm. We'll see you again tomorrow night. Again, if you got comments, if you got questions, if you got concerns or prayer requests, if you've got suggestions, hey, if you would like to be on with us, please let us know.